Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Nashtapaye shtabadesham nityam bhagavate sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistike. Ete chamsa kala pumsam krishnastu bhagavan sayam indriyar vyakalam lokam ridyante yuge yuge. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 17th chapter, text number 21 and 22. So, this is a small purport only, so we'll first read text number 21, I will read, and then together we will read text number 22. Tada suchiva nodbhuto davagni sarvato vrajam suptam nishitha avritya pradagum upachakrame. Translation. During the night, while all the people of Vṛndāvana were asleep, a great fire blazed up within the dry summer forest. The fire surrounded the inhabitants of Braj on all sides and began to scorch them. Purport. Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have commented that perhaps a loyal friend of Kaliya had assumed the form of a forest fire to avenge his friend. Or perhaps the forest fire was manifest by a demon who was a follower of Kamsa's. Text number 22. Tata utthāya sambhrāntāḥ dahyamānā vrajaukasaḥ kṛṣṇaṁ yayus śaraṇaṁ māyā-manujam īśvaram tata utthāya sambhrāntā dahyamānā vraja-okasaḥ kṛṣṇaṁ yayus śaraṇaṁ māyā-manujam īśvaram tata utthāya sambhrāntā dahyamānā vraja-okasaḥ kṛṣṇaṁ yayuḥ śaraṇam māyā-manujam īśvaram tata. Then utthāya, waking up, sambhrāntāḥ, agitated, dahyamānāḥ, about to be burned, vraja-okasaḥ, the people of Braj, kṛṣṇam, to Kṛṣṇa, yayuḥ, went, they, śaraṇam, for shelter, māyā, by his potency, manujam, appearing like a human being, īśvaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by the disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Then the residents of Vṛndāvana woke up, extremely disturbed by the great fire threatening to burn them. Thus they took shelter of Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Lord, who by his spiritual potency appeared like an ordinary human being. Purport. The Shruti or Vedic mantra state, svarūpa-bhūtayā nitya-śaktyā māyā-manujam. The Lord's eternal potency, named Maya, is innate in his original form. Thus, within the eternal spiritual body of the Supreme Lord, there is infinite potency, which effortlessly manipulates all existence according to the omniscient desire of the Absolute Truth. The residents of Vṛndāvana took shelter of Kṛṣṇa, thinking, this blessed boy will certainly be empowered by God to save us. They remembered the words of the sage Garga Muni, spoken at the birth ceremony of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Anena sarva-durgāṇi yūyam anjastarishyata. By his power you will easily be able to cross over all obstacles. Therefore the residents of Vṛndāvana, who had full faith in Kṛṣṇa, took shelter of the Lord in hopes of being saved from the impending disaster threatened by the forest fire. Om ajnanatimidandasya jnananjana salakaya chakshurunmilitam yanam tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sambhrāntāḥ dadati sapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishagandvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopikaganta Radha Kanta Namastade Datta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vṛndāvaneshari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this chapter towards the end, after Kṛṣṇa subdued Kalya, the huge serpent, and asked him to go away and not to come back here in Braj. So it was evening time and everyone was very, very tired. And they were not drinking the water from the river because still they were thinking that the water is contaminated, it is poisoned because of Kalya. Similarly, they were afraid to drink the milk of the cows because they were thinking the cows were also drinking the water. So then some effect will be there also. So because of that, so they didn't have anything to eat with them. They were tired, hungry and thirsty. And rather than going back to the houses, they decided to stay at the bank of the Jamuna river and take rest there. And when Kṛṣṇa is present, everything is very pleasant. Of course, in this material world, the demons are coming and are creating some disturbance, but otherwise it is very pleasant, very beautiful. And the seasons are there, but it is not too hot or not too cold. and natural environment was there at Krishna's time. So whereas now, although Krishna is still present in the temples, and the pure devotees, they can still see or feel the presence of Krishna, but the environment is not so pure anymore, not so beautiful anymore. With so many buildings and people with their material consciousness, they come here. Of course, some interest is there in spiritual life, but many times we can see the cleanliness is not maintained. So, and so much artificial items are there, like plastic bottles. I remember when I first came here, 1980, so there were no plastic bottles, there were no plastic bags. And the Jamuna was crystal clear. So we used to drink the Jamuna water. And the path was very soft, the parikrama path. So, but of course still we appreciate Vṛndāvana always, it is transcendental. But there's a covering there also, material covering. So nevertheless, so Krishna's time everything is completely pure. And although some demons are coming, but the purity is maintained by Krishna's power, by Krishna's internal potency. And so the external potency is also there, but does not have so much influence when Krishna is present. So, and text number 21, it is explained that so all the people of Vṛndāvana, they were sleeping at night, and then suddenly there was a great forest fire. As we know, Braj, there are 12 forests in Braj. 7 on the eastern side of the Jamuna and 5 on the western side of the Jamuna. And so Vṛndāvana, so there are many tulsi trees here, tulsi plants here in Vṛndāvana. So, and it is, of course, all the 12 forests are so much glorified because Krishna is performing his wonderful pastimes. Even actually so these are the 12 main forests which are there, but then there are other forests also known as Upavana. So they were in the beautiful forest or at the bank of the Jamuna river in Vṛndāvana. And then the forest fire came. And that forest fire so surrounded all the inhabitants of Braj. So on all sides, the fire was there. And then, of course, because of the heat, and it became very hot. So, in the purport, it has been explained that Srila Sanatana Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, both of them, so they are commenting that either it must have been a loyal friend of Kaliya who wanted to take some revenge, that now our friend Kali has to go from here, and so we're banished from here. So let us give trouble to the friends of Krishna. So maybe even they were thinking to kill them. So by arranging this forest fire. Or they're suggesting that maybe one of Kamsa's followers, the demons, Kamsa was always ready to, because he had heard the Bhavishyavani, at the time when the marriage ceremony was there of Vasudeva and Devaki. So the voice from the sky announced that the 8th child of Devaki will be the cause of your death. So addressing Kamsa as foolish also. And he became immediately enraged, and so he was ready to practically kill. Devaki was his actually cousin sister. But then Vasudeva was very, of course as a king or kshatriya, he was very intelligent and diplomatic, so he spoke in a very nice way, and he pacified Kamsa. for the time being, and he told him, you don't worry, but leave her. And you don't have to be afraid of her, but have children. So, but I'm promising you that I will give, each time we have a child, I will surrender the child to you, and you may do whatever you want. And as we know, cruel Kamsa, he killed all of them, the 6 children who came before Shankar, Balram, and before Krishna. And so by various ways, so then when he find out that Krishna appeared already, so he sent his friends, his agents to try to kill Krishna. So they're commenting, Vishwanath and Sanatana Goswami, that maybe it must have been either a friend of Kaliya who was inimical to some point till he surrendered, or a follower of Kamsa who was constantly trying to kill Krishna. So the acharyas, of course, they are greatly learned, and they are empowered by the Lord also. And when the acharyas, they are performing their devotional service, then they are absorbed in samadhi, and then they may have some revelations, and then they will give that to the conditioned souls for their benefit. So that is known as samadhi bhasha, the language of those who are absorbed in samadhi. And for example, they are writing these transcendental literatures, or even Srila Prabhupada. He wrote the purport to the Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. That was also in samadhi bhasha, completely absorbed. And so much so, as Prabhupada used to say, that actually I'm not writing these books, but Krishna is dictating to me. And then I'm writing. So fully absorbed in transcendental consciousness, samadhi. So the dhi, that is the intelligence, is equiposed, is fixed. It is beyond the 3 modes of material nature. Sadhu buddhi, transcendental intelligence is there, and then they are guided. The pure devotees are guided by Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then of course, that is the absolute truth, Krishna himself dictating. But sometimes even the acharyas, or even sometimes you could also see Prabhupada, he was saying, sometimes even a few months before so when he came to give up his body, but at one point also he was saying, so I don't know exactly now what Krishna wants me to do, if he wants me to stay longer or go. So by Krishna's arrangements also, sometimes the pure devotees, they are not exactly sure. So therefore here is mentioned, so but by meditation they could understand that this fire was caused by somebody who was inimical towards Krishna, towards the Brijavasis. So it must have been either the friends of Kaliya or the friends of Kamsa. So but it was not completely known also to Vishwanath or Sanatana Goswami. But it doesn't matter. But the point is that there was a forest fire which was causing difficulty to all the Brijavasis. So in text number 22, tata utthāya sambhrāntāḥ. So they woke up, sambhrāntāḥ, agitated. Of course, if it is a fire there and heat is there, then one is immediately agitated, or one becomes fearful. Even if one is a devotee of Krishna, like they are all associates of Krishna, or the pure devotees, so they are completely dependent on Krishna. But in difficult situations, then it is natural also, it is natural to become, as mentioned here, agitated or sometimes fearful. It is not that the pure devotee have no fear at all. No, these are, but they are completely absorbed in Krishna. They are thinking, they are surrendered to Krishna. They are trying to always think about Krishna, serve Krishna, so they are completely absorbed. But then the different emotions are there. Of course, the main mood of the associates is there, the sthayi bhav, the permanent ecstasy. Like the friends, Krishna is my friend. That is the permanent ecstasy that is always there. or Mother Yashoda, Vatsalya Bhav, parental affection. Kṛṣṇa is my child. Although Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Lord. But and they are the most exalted devotees are the Brijvasis. No one is as exalted as the Brijvasis in the whole spiritual realm. But by Krishna's internal potency, Yoga Maya, they are not aware that Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They think Kṛṣṇa is my friend, Kṛṣṇa is my son. Or the gopis are thinking Kṛṣṇa is my beloved. So that is the staiba of the permanent ecstasy, feeling, mood. Kṛṣṇa is my friend, Kṛṣṇa is my son. At the same time, then as the different pastimes are going on, then different emotions are there. Of course, transcendental emotions are explained. Ashta Sattvic Bhav, feeling so much transcendental happiness so much that the hairs are standing on end, the tears are coming from the eyes. So these are the different symptoms mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. And the specific emotions are there explaining in regards also to the different relationships with Kṛṣṇa. Sometimes there's a little bit different emotions are there. And then the 33 Vyabhichari Bhav, also known as Sanchari Bhav. So they are coming and going, these different emotions. So there is transcendental bliss is there, that is the underlying principle in the spiritual world. Satchidananda Vigraha, Kṛṣṇa is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, in unlimited form, is unlimited. So the associates of Kṛṣṇa, their existence is also as such, Satchidananda Vigraha. And even ourselves, although now we are conditioned, our nature is also Satchidananda Vigraha, we eternal. And we are, by nature, we are cognizant and we are knowledgeable. And also, by transcendental nature, we are full of bliss. In a personal form, in the relationship to Kṛṣṇa. So that is there. At the same time, which is, and the love towards Kṛṣṇa and the loving exchange is very, very deep. And it is deep as the ocean, as in comparison. So there may be a lake or a pond, but the ocean is huge. And the devotees, they are swimming, as explained by Rupa Goswami, they are swimming in the ocean of love, Prem Sagar. But just like also in the ocean, sometimes the waves are there. And the people, they like to ride on the waves. But sometimes there are huge waves, like tsunami. And then there may be some destruction because of the huge wave. Similarly, so the transcendental emotions are there, and they're just like waves in the ocean, and they're coming and going. And sometimes they're also practically like devastating. So there's a transcendental, but these are all transcendental, and Kṛṣṇa is always in the center. And but in loving exchange, so these emotions are there. They're coming and going. Sanchari Bhav. So sometimes agitation is there, that is one of the Sanchari Bhavs of fear also, transcendental fear in difficult situation. But then they are completely dependent on Kṛṣṇa, and then they're calling out to Kṛṣṇa, 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 please help me, please save me. And then by Kṛṣṇa's mercy, then they become peaceful again. So here, when the forest fire was there, then naturally they were feeling so much discomfort. It was hot like anything if there's a fire there. So especially when it is hot now in the summer, so there's a fire, and it's very difficult to tolerate, and one can be disturbed. So then they took shelter of Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Lord, as explained here. And it is specifically mentioned here that māyā-manujam, īśvaram, so by his eternal potency also, or the external potency, either case, manujam, Kṛṣṇa appeared just like an ordinary human being. But then it is specified here, īśvaram, but is the Supreme Lord. So that should be remembered. So always we have to remember that Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Lord and we are the servants of Kṛṣṇa. So that is the consideration of the absolute truth, tattva vichar. that we have to remember as sadhakas, as practicing devotees. But then there's the lila vichara also, the consideration of the pastimes, and there Krishna is not the Supreme Lord. At that time Krishna is the beloved of all the Brijabasis. In friendship or in parental affection, the parents are there, or the elderly gopis, they have so much parental affection towards Krishna, and the gopis, they have conjugal relationship. So, but in the past times, so because although he's the Supreme Lord, but he is appearing just like an ordinary human being, and also not only just as an ordinary human being, but in Braj as a cowherd boy, gop. So for the ordinary persons, it is difficult to understand that person, that Krishna is the absolute truth. As it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna himself, so is covered by his external potency. So Maya, so that refers to Krishna's potency. And as explained also in the Purport, mentioned here by the Acharyas, that nitya-śaktyā māyā-manujam. So, and it has been explained, and it is mentioned in scriptures, that there are practically almost unlimited potencies are there of the Lord. But primarily the internal potency is there, and then the external potency. Antaranga Shakti Yoga Maya, that is the internal potency, and the Bahiranga Shakti Mahamaya. So both are known as Maya. So the bewildering potency, but one is the internal, and so the associates of the Lord Kṛṣṇa, so they are under the potency of, or under the internal potency, Yoga Maya, and therefore they are not aware that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, which is also according to Krishna's desire. He wants to be appreciated in that capacity, just as a friend. He doesn't want to be in Braj, he doesn't want to be accepted as, he doesn't want to be worshipped as the Supreme Lord, but as best friend. He wants that relationship. So therefore they are covered by the Yoga Maya, the internal potency. Whereas the conditioned souls, or even the demons which were coming to Braj, they were affected, or they were covered by the external potency Mahamaya. And so both the associates of Krishna in Braj and the conditioned souls, they're thinking that Krishna is an ordinary human being. But just to make it clear here, so it is mentioned īśvaram, but he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And but the beautiful pastimes are there, and the devotees of Krishna, the associates of Krishna, when there's a difficulty, immediately they are calling out to Krishna. And as mentioned here by the Acharyas, that so they were thinking, this boy is blessed, and certainly he is empowered by God to save us. He will be empowered, like many times before they saw. Different demons came, and they always, Krishna was protected, the Brijabasis were protected. But they're not completely aware what is actually happening. That Krishna himself is subduing the demons or killing the demons. But they were just thinking that he's empowered by the Supreme Lord, by Vishnu Narayan. And there's even, it is mentioned here by the Acharyas, like Garga Muni. So at the time of the name-giving ceremony, so he told Nanda Baba that anena sarva-durgāṇi yuyam anjastarishyata. By Krishna's power, you will be able to cross all obstacles. So he was already indicating, Garga Muni, that many difficulties will come. So Garga Muni, a great Vaishnav, so the Acharya of the Yadu dynasty, and so although in Braj, so there are Acharyas also, specifically two are here, Bhaguri Muni and Sandilya Muni. They were the Acharyas, and they were taking guidance from these two personalities. And the ladies, specific, of course, everyone was respecting also Purnamasi, the mother of Sandipani Muni, and the grandmother of Madhumangal and Nandimukhi. So at one point Purnamasi, so she told her son Sandipani Muni, I want to go to Braj. And then he said, all right, yeah, you can. So because everyone in Bharsha knows about the glories of Braj. And so she said, I want to take your 2 children with me, Madhumangal and Nandimukhi. And he said, all right, fine. And so then they came here. And so they were very much respected because Sandipani Muni was also well known, although Krishna only later on, after going to Mathura and then later on. So when he was in Mathura, then he went to Gurukul and learned from Sandipani Muni, although he's knowing everything, but just in performing his Naravat Lila, his human-like pastimes. So he went to, just to set the example, he went to the ashram of Sandipani Muni to learn the 64 arts. So Garga Muni, he had foretold. So although they had the great sages, so Sandini Muni, Bhaguri Muni and Purnamasi Devi, they were there to give advice, instructions, guidance for their spiritual well-being, so they may live happily also in this world. Of course, we know they're the eternal associates, but in this world, the pastimes are there, and then even the eternal associates, they will take guidance from the Gurujan, from the saintly spiritual masters and senior devotees, and the acharyas. So, but because Garga Muni, he was considered the most erudite and the greatest scholars, so therefore they called Garga Muni, but also because Nanda Baba was thinking that Vasudeva is my friend, and so I should, and I cannot invite him here, but due to the circumstances, but at least let me ask him to send, let us call Garga Muni, because he's most experienced and most, so the greatest acharya who is renowned. Sometimes we say Jagat Guru, like Srila Prabhupada, he was the guru of the whole world and recognized by all the saintly devotees. Or then his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, was also Jagat Guru. Everyone or any intelligent person could understand that these are special personalities. So even most of Prabhupada's god brothers, they also recognized Prabhupada, but not all of them. Some of them were a little envious. Because only if one is completely pure, then one can recognize and one can appreciate another great Vaishnava. So but Sandili Muni and Bhaguri Muni, they could also appreciate Garga Muni, and so they didn't have any objection when Garga Muni was called. And then so Garga Muni, he was telling that that this child is very special. And so by his power you will be able to cross all obstacles. So the great souls, they are Trikalagya. Now Krishna's name is Trikalagya. He knows past, present and future. He knows everything. And the pure devotees who are surrendered to Krishna, because Krishna is in their heart and they are able to get guidance from Krishna directly. So therefore they are also known as Trikalagya. But still there's a difference there also. Krishna, he knows everything, past, present and future, and he knows about every living entity because he's situated in everyone's heart. Whereas the pure devotees, they are Trikalagya, and whatever is required in order to perform their service, so that Krishna will tell them. Specifically, the acharyas, they will take care of the disciples or their followers, or those who are taking shelter of them. So in regards to what is needed in order to help them, so then they may also know about their past, their present and their future by Krishna's mercy. So Garga Muni was Trikalagya, and he could understand that some difficulties will come. And but he was telling them that you don't have to worry. By Krishna's mercy, that you will be able to overcome all difficulties. So all the Brajavasis, they were having so much love for Kṛṣṇa, and that is the prime point to understand here, that they had so much love for Kṛṣṇa, and it is secondary that they were then actually having full faith in Kṛṣṇa and surrendering to Kṛṣṇa. They just had natural love for Kṛṣṇa, and then it is natural that they were calling out to him. Kṛṣṇa was more important to them, most important, more than anything else. Even they had their own children, the different couples there, but they had more love for Kṛṣṇa than their own child. So therefore, naturally they were calling out to Kṛṣṇa when there was some difficulty. And then they had so also the faith, because they had seen in the past that all difficulties which had come in their life by Krishna's mercy, so that they were able to overcome. So the Acharyas have explained in regards to the forest fire that actually there were, first that is one forest fire here which happened, but later on there was another forest fire also nearby here. So that was at the bank of the Jamuna, and there's another place here in Vṛndāvana also, not far from here. Still there's a pond there, Davanala Kund. When we first came here, we used to go there in the summer especially, we used to take bath there, that Kund, nearby from here, but now hardly anybody goes there. Somebody used to go there in the summer especially and jump into that Kund for some refreshment, or we used to go to the Jamuna. So at that, the second forest fire, which is interesting, and sometimes we can see sometimes the pastimes they are put together as regards to this forest fire, or even as we know the Shveta Varaha or Rakta Varaha, two Varaha incarnations are there, but in the Srimad Bhagavatam only one is mentioned, but actually there were two. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, the transcendental literature for the benefit of the conditioned souls, is authoritative and accepted by the great acharyas and the saintly devotees. But what we have present here, these are 18,000 verses, and this is a kind of condensed edition of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam is not different from Kṛṣṇa, and Kṛṣṇa is unlimited. So Kṛṣṇa's glories, Kṛṣṇa's qualities and Kṛṣṇa's pastimes and Kṛṣṇa's glories, they are unlimited. So, but we cannot write everything. Even Ananta Sheshi cannot describe everything about Kṛṣṇa, not possible. Even with his thousands of Shersha heads, Sahasra Shersha Purushaha, he cannot find the end to Kṛṣṇa's glories, and also in regards to Mahaprabhu's pastimes, not possible. Unlimited pastimes are there. But just for our benefit, some pastimes are mentioned here, 18,000 verses. Just in short, something is explained. Whereas in the planets of the demigods, so the Bhagavatam is there also, but there are many, many more verses there. There are 400,000 verses are there in the heavenly planets of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam is for our benefit, but here a condensed form is there, and sometimes two pastimes are put together. So in the second forest fire, of course, which is mentioned also briefly, so it has been explained that when Kṛṣṇa was in the forest here with his friends, and the cows and the calves, and at that time also most probably the Acharyas has mentioned one of the associates of Kamsa actually was putting the fire, trying to kill them. And so the cows are actually separated from Kṛṣṇa and the Gopas. And then the cows are mooing, calling out to Kṛṣṇa, and the Gopas saying, "Oh Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa, please, you have to help. We have to save the cows and the calves, and we have to be saved too. Please, please help." And then Kṛṣṇa actually, what he told them, okay, but you have to close your eyes. And okay, they said, okay, we close our eyes, and then Kṛṣṇa was swallowing the fire. So then the acharyas have explained, why did Kṛṣṇa say to the gopas they should close their eyes? Because just a little bit before, Kṛṣṇa one time, of course, is playing with his friends, and then sometimes in the play, of course, Kṛṣṇa is taking prasadam from his friends, but at one point, actually, the friends and Balaram, headed by Balaram, they complained to Mother Yashoda that today Kṛṣṇa was, we were playing, but Kṛṣṇa was eating some mud, some mitti, some mud. And then Mother Yashoda immediately called Kṛṣṇa, you come here. So Balaram and the other gopas are saying, you ate some mitti, some mud? No, Kṛṣṇa, no, I didn't eat mud, no. And then Mother Yashoda said, okay, come here, you open your mouth. And then Kṛṣṇa opened his mouth, and then she didn't see any mud inside there, any mitti, but she saw the whole universe there, and she saw herself. And even this happened 2 times, that she looked inside the mouth of Kṛṣṇa, and she saw this universe. So, and then of course she was very much bewildered by Yoga Maya, but then again by Yoga Maya also, then everything was all right and she forgot about that. So because the gopas, they were complaining to Mother Yashoda that Kṛṣṇa ate some mitti and so some earth. So therefore he was thinking, well, if now I have swallowed the forest fire, then they will surely complain to Mother Yashoda, Kṛṣṇa ate some fire today. And in order to avoid that, because that was unusual, and then he was thinking, it better I tell them to close, because then what Mother Yashoda will think, and that is almost unbelievable, but still just to avoid some kind of unpleasant situation for everyone, a transcendental situation. So he was telling them, you close your eyes. So they all closed their eyes, and then Kṛṣṇa was swallowing the fire, and then he was telling, okay, you can open your eyes now, everything is fine. And they saw the forest fire there, and the cows and the calves are there, and then they were happily together and playing together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Kṛṣṇa is most wonderful, Adbhut Kṛṣṇa, and he's a Supreme Lord, but he's performing his pastimes just like an ordinary gop, cowboy. And although Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Lord, but he himself is also bewildered by his own potency. It is mentioned, he's sarvagya, he knows everything, but he's mukda also, he is bewildered by his own potency, internal potency at the same time, so that the pastimes can go on. And therefore he seems to be bewildered also, Kṛṣṇa. Like when Agasura was there, opening his big mouth, and the gopas were going inside, Kṛṣṇa was thinking, oh, what? And the gopas, they were also thinking, that looks almost like some kind of maybe demon or something, but anyhow, no problem, Kṛṣṇa will save us. And Kṛṣṇa also a little bit bewildered, it is mentioned. Now what shall I do now in this situation? The boys are going inside, but looks like it's a demon. What shall I do now? So he was momentarily also not exactly not knowing what to do. So that is the pastime of the Lord by his internal potency. But Kṛṣṇa, we should understand, he knows everything all the time. But in order that the pastimes can happen with his associates in a very wonderful way, so then he has to forget that he's the Supreme Lord. So therefore his own potency is bewildering Kṛṣṇa also to some extent, so that the pastimes can go on nicely. But then when there's a need, Kṛṣṇa knows everything, and then everything is adjusted nicely. Hare Krishna. Any question? Yes. There's a mic here, or?
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Yes.
Guruji, you mentioned that in the heavenly planets there are, the Bhagavatam is around 400,000 verses, and it's much more extensive.
Yes.
So, the demigods, they have all the facilities to understand God a lot more and, go back to Godhead. But then we hear that they have to come down and, after their period is over, and they have to come down, take a human form, and then they can go back. But generally they don't go back from, their planets. So why is that? I mean, they have all the facilities. They will see all the pastimes of the Lord, and they have all the, Srimad Bhagavad and all that. So why can't they go straight from there?
Yes. It's not that they cannot go from there, but it is very rare. Those who are most qualified, and then they can go up to Brahma Loka, and then when at the end of this material existence, then those who are qualified from there, they can go to the spiritual world. But they live a long time. Like Brahma lives 100 years also, but his 100 years is the entire time of the cosmic manifestation practically. So they're living then with him, and then when they're qualified, then they will go. But it is not so easy to become qualified to enter the pastimes of the Lord. So therefore most of the demigods, although they have a long life and they have a more peaceful life there and more facility, and there's no old age there, but they're practically almost youthful form is there till the end of their life. And but still the external energy is there also. Maya is still there also, and they become bewildered by the external potency. Although they have the opportunity to engage in devotional service, and they are studying the scriptures, they are worshipping Krishna also, but they also become bewildered by Maya. As we see, even Lord Indra becomes bewildered all the time. And even Lord Brahma, he became bewildered once in a day. This is happening. So it is not easy to become completely free from the three modes of material nature, and then to realize one's relationship with Krishna and then enter the pastimes. So even in the heavenly planets, the external energy is there. It is the material world. So they also get bewildered. So, but it is not that they cannot go to back to Godhead from there, but it is rare also. And many, they will come back to this world, but even when you are here, and now we are in Krishna consciousness, at the same time, even in Vṛndāvana, but you can see the external energies here also. And to be fully Krishna conscious is not easy. Although we have all the opportunity, we have the Bhagavatam, all the condensed version, maybe there, but it is there, and so we have the opportunity to take full advantage, but the conditioned soul is not always able to take full advantage. So either here or in the heavenly planets. So, and here we have there's so much opulence and so much room for sense. They have heavenly sense pleasures there. So because of that, sometimes they forget to serve Krishna also. Whereas here, there's some pleasure and there's some difficulty there, and then it is sometimes more easy to remember Krishna when you're in difficulty. Okay? Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. And His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj has come. Pujapad Shri Radha Govinda Maharaj ki. Srila Prabhupada ki.